Yeah.
And then make a
Yeah.
movie called Sound of Freedom. Topical.
Okay. Yep.
When did that movie come out again? Like 2019 or whatever the fuck? Or
Sound
like a
of
week
Freedom?
ago?
I don't think I remember that.
I didn't see the movie because your movie's called Sound of Freedom. But here's the thing, and I'm not a director. Film, visual medium. This movie could have been a podcast.
Well, now that is true. Yeah, just entirely based off the title.
Yeah, and so I don't know. And by the way, what is the Sound of Freedom? They didn't tell you in the movie. I didn't see the movie. Maybe they tell you in the movie. It's probably like an eagle noise, right? Like a.
I think. Maybe. Yeah. First of all, I don't know that what you did was an eagle noise, but I appreciate the attempt.
Eagle bird experts, Underworld News Tonight at gmail.com. You know what? I forgot to put in a Spotify question last week, and I don't trust myself to come up with one on the fly anymore. And this is one that's early, so you guys haven't dipped out yet. Did Andrew do an eagle noise successfully at the beginning of the episode? If you're listening on Spotify, answer us. Yes, definitely, for sure. And of course, you could also vote for your favorite story in the poll. Anyway, thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. This is Underworld News Tonight, where we are bringing you the weird, wacky, and wild news of the week. I am your host, Andrew Michaels, and I am joined, speaking of the Sound of Freedom, by a man who's lending his own voice to speak to the youth across America in high schools everywhere to make chewing tobacco cool again, Jason Strong.
Yeah. You'd be surprised how easy it is.
It's like vaping for baseball players.
Right.
You know what I found out? Out, Jason? Oh my God, I'm going to sound like such a fucking old man there, but I know my dad listens to this show, and I have got a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old stepbrother, and a 16-year-old stepsister. So listen up, Dad. If you hear any of these kids, they don't dip. They don't. If I would never hit my siblings. If I caught them using chewing tobacco, I would put them in a jujitsu hole. I'm not very good at jujitsu, but I'm better at jujitsu than my 16-year-old sister probably. I don't know. She's a cheerleader. She has a lot of aerobic energy. Actually, she's in her physical prime. I'm on the decline, so she'll beat the fuck out of me. But what I will say anyway is that if you hear them say they are taking a Zyn, Z-Y-N, they're not going to spell it. That means they're doing not chewing tobacco. It's like a pouch thing that they put in their mouth.
Yep, I've seen those.
How do you know about this? Are you zinning?
No.
On the show?
No, I don't. Yep, right now. I have like 8 of them, actually.
Wait, so what does it look like? Is it like a tiny little bag of tobacco?
If memory serves, yeah. I've seen one, like, because they're fairly new, and I don't know. I may have even tried one, but it doesn't.
But it's not like dip, and it's not like old school chewing tobacco, and it's not like snuff from the 1800s.
No. Yeah, it's like a discreet little pack. So you put it in, and then then you just spit out the pack. Have you ever, I'm sure I know the answer to this. Have you ever tried chewing tobacco?
I did dip when I was very drunk with my older brother's friend, who I'm not going to name the one because it was a long time ago and the statute of limitations has passed. When I was like 19, it was a horrendous. I hated it. I immediately was like, people get the worst type of cancer for a podcaster to get for this, for something that they have to put these, like, what is it, fucking glass shards or whatever the fuck to get it to pierce your jaw. That's fucking horrible. It's fucking horrific. Like, it wasn't like old school chewing tobacco was actually just chewing on a tobacco leaf, right? Can I ask a stupid question? Or is dip what chewing tobacco was?
I think, yeah, that's chewing. I think it's, I guess you
like
probably...
dip is a post-chewing tobacco invention.
I think, well, I thought that was slang for chewing tobacco.
Well, no, because dip, you put it in, like, that's packing a lip, right? You don't chew it, though. You put it in, I remember from when I did it 11 years ago. You put it in your lip or like that,
Really?
right? Like,
Well,
but
see,
like
I
I feel
didn't know.
like back in
Honestly,
the
I didn't
day.
know that. I didn't know there was a distinction. Yeah,
Wait, so
you're
you've
right. I
never done
mean, it
dip?
makes sense, but I've done
You've never
dip.
dipped? Yeah, that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. So chewing tobacco, as the name implies, you're chewing it, but I don't think anybody
Right.
does that anymore. I don't
No.
think you could, like, I don't think I could like buy maybe at a specialty store.
Um,
By
I
the way,
don't
we're
know.
gonna find out if Riverside filters out me burping into a microphone from a 5 seconds ago.
Boy, I hope not. No, I was about 19, and I was working, I had an overnight job at the airport loading freight, right? So I was outside. It was a very sort of manly, you know,
Yeah, of course, of
mid
course.
90s gig. Yeah, a lot of the
Yeah.
guys would dip. So someone offered it to me.
You were
I tried it.
he was a receptionist in the United Lounge.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
He was a shoe shine boy.
Hmm. No, it made me so sick I had to go home. That was the first and last time
Mission
I did it.
accomplished. Oh my
Right.
god. No, it's fucking horrible. And it's not, because here's the thing is like smoking cigarettes. All right, maybe this is not what the youth of America need to hear, but if I've looked at our listener demographics appropriately,
I
we
think we're
don't need to
safe.
worry about that.
We don't have
Yeah.
youth. Yeah.
But as for the 42-year-olds of America, at least smoking makes you look cool. Like we can agree that smoking does make you look cool, right? Like it is cool
Mhm.
in the moment, not after the fact. Like you look old as shit later and whatever, it's bad for
Right.
you.
Mhm.
Now you look like someone who doesn't understand health. But the act of smoking a cigarette looks cool. The
Yeah.
act of vaping doesn't look cool, but it tastes like cotton candy. It doesn't make you like super sick if you like don't like vape a
Mhm.
shit ton. And also you can put marijuana in it, right?
Yeah.
Chewing
I would
tobacco
say,
and
yeah.
dip
Yeah.
doesn't make you look cool. And again, as far as like types of cancer to get, like having your jaw removed, again, maybe this is like a Freudian thing about me, that my two biggest like fears about cancer are like jaw cancer and dick cancer. But
Mhm.
basically the same thing if you think about it.
Mhm. Yep. You can't be a podcaster without either. We're both.
You certainly cannot. Speaking of which, do you think we should get to the show?
Yeah. I think we've talked enough
Probably.
about tobacco products.
Tobacco products and dick cancer. I think the moral of the story, though, is we should all try some tobacco products. Go ahead and support your local tobacco farmer. Because I have to say,
Yeah.
we talk about supporting the farmers of America, and we think too often about tomato farmers, lettuce farmers,
Right. Sure.
dairy
Tomato.
farmers, because they have it apparently very rough. Potato farmers. I don't know, what's another thing you
Beans.
could farm? Fucking beans. Yeah, I was
Beans.
actually about to say beans. It's not a
Sorghum.
joke. We are on the same comedic wavelength. We've never even played
Sorghum.
Zip Zap Zop. Wait, what's sorghum? Is that like a
Isn't
grain?
that I think it's a shit. I thought it was a type of bean, but it's used more for like
We've broken
industrial
the flow. What is sorghum?
applications.
We have to find out. I'm sorry, guys. We're gonna start the show, but I'm gonna look up sorghum.
Okay.
Sorghum is a grass genus, also known as broomcord, which we should call it. Some of the
Famously,
species
yeah,
are grown as
broomcord.
cereals for human consumption, so it's like
Okay.
used for health cereals. So yeah,
Okay.
sorghum or broomcorn, whatever the case
Broomcorn.
may be.
Mm.
Speaking of broomcorn, Jason, what's our first story about? Not broomcord, right?
No. Wait. No.
Yeah, but I was gonna say we talk about support all those farmers, support your tobacco farmers too.
Yeah. This story is from outdoors.com, written by Daniel Terrell.
Perfect.
Washington.
That's a bit hypocritical. It's a bit hypocritical to start a website for being outside. For like, because you had to buy outdoors.com before you could use the internet outside, right? You couldn't buy outdoors.com in like 2015. This has to have been a website started in the 90s. Like, you're fucking inside starting outdoors.com, do as I say, not as I do, that sort of shit.
Well, yeah, but these days, with like smartphones and satellite internet, they could be outside, and you could be outside and still designing a website.
They can work outside on their laptops all the time. Yeah. They could be solar powered laptops, but I don't think that they could have gotten that domain in the satellite era. That's kind of what I'm getting at. They had to start the website. Like,
Right.
and I just think
Hmm.
that that's a bit, unless they had to communicate through like a tube, you know.
I don't know. I don't know how old outdoors.com is. Like if it, well, it is it, if maybe it's was like a periodical, started in the 1700s
That's
and,
true. That
could like changed and grew to become what it is today.
That's true. We'll never know. We can't look up the
Right.
history of
Impossible to
outdoors.com.
say.
There truly is
Yeah.
not the time today.
No. Headline: Washington sheriff reminds public not to hunt Sasquatch.
This is interesting because we've talked about this kill or no kill when it comes to Sasquatch, and I think I've always believed. I mean, we've never even talked about the legal side.
Right.
Neither of us are lawyers, but I am Jewish,
Sure.
and my stepmom's a lawyer, and opinions represented on this show do not affect hers, and I don't know if I don't think she's actively practicing. All of
Okay.
which is to say that makes me a legal expert, I think. Um,
Okay. Sure.
I've always known that the law is on the side of no kill.
Yeah. As far as a Sasquatch.
Yeah, unless it's self-defense, you can't go out and just hunt a Sasquatch on site.
I guess. But do you think like maybe you and I feel that way because of like our upbringing and who we
Well,
are?
and the state of
Maybe
Washington.
someone who's like like had more of a hunting upbringing might have a different inclination about it.
Well, no, they might
Um,
have a different inclination, but here's the thing. I don't have anything against hunting. I don't do it. Like, I
mhm,
don't come from a hunting family. I don't broadly, like, the part of New Jersey I live in, it's not a hunting culture. I knew maybe one family that hunted, like, when I was a
mhm,
kid.
yeah,
And I know them particularly well, but, like, and I think you grew up in more of a hunting culture, even though
yeah,
that wasn't your
mhm,
family.
right,
I
mhm,
have nothing against hunting.
mhm,
I think it's a good thing. But a good hunter understands
mhm,
there are things you hunt, there are things you don't hunt. There are times that you hunt certain things, there are times that you don't hunt certain things. If you don't know what
right,
something is, unless it's an immediate threat to you, you don't just shoot it.
mhm,
Because also you don't even know if you could eat
yeah,
it.
yeah. No,
You're not
all good
supposed to eat.
points.
I'm pretty sure that eating monkey meat is like actually considered like a major health risk, right? Like in general, because they're
Mhm,
just too. I'm not a doctor either. But like
no,
monkeys are too genetically close to us and apes, I think.
okay,
And I think that like if you eat one, like you'll get sick more likely than if you eat any other animal.
hmm, I don't know. Yeah, no, those are good points. But yeah, so this hunter, he actually had many of the same questions. Went ahead and wrote the local sheriff. He was planning a hunting trip to Meadow Lake in Northeast Washington, and Northeast Washington is like very very rural.
That's true. I
um,
figured.
yeah, is it illegal in Stevens County to shoot Sasquatch? Is a regular hunting license enough to keep the Sasquatch hunt legal? The hunter made clear that he would not hunt or shoot a female Sasquatch. So he does have
Well, yeah,
an
because we
understanding of
actually
basic
talked
hunting
about this a
ethics.
couple of
Yeah,
months ago that female
yeah,
Sasquatches, they are quite. They have the bodies of female gymnasts, I believe, is what
right, sure.
one Canadian military man said.
In answer, the Stevens County Sheriff's Department, first of all, pointed out that the area this gentleman wanted to go hunting, Meadow Lake, is in a different county. So he's asking the wrong people about the
Well,
legality of hunting Sasquatch. Uh, the After pointing that out, they did note that quote, there are no Sasquatch in Stevens County. Now, how does the sheriff know this? The sheriff added he knew that for a fact because, quote, one of our deputies would have accidentally hit one with a patrol car by now. Um, but
oh
yes,
my god,
you
I
can-
love America's officers. Bat.
Right? I don't.
Oh my god.
That
It's
that's
like
so I don't know
that's
how
like
to
so
feel about that at all.
that's a very funny joke until you remember who's making it.
I know. I know. And it makes it funnier.
It makes it fun. But
Like,
so much worse.
to like, what? Do you hear yourself, dude?
Oh my god. Well, here's the other thing about this. Remember when we saw that video of the Sasquatch in Colorado? This was
Yeah.
early days
Yeah.
of the podcast. I mean, it's if we're not
Right.
still in the early days of the podcast because it's actually our 6-month anniversary. This episode.
Oh.
And I said at the time, and usually I'm pretty open-minded. That is a homeless man taking a shit.
Uh-huh.
So you could see why there might be some concerns.
Right. Well, just generally, and to finish up the article here real quick, Washington State, of course, does lead the nation in Bigfoot sightings. There's been 710. And there are some areas of the state that do have, in fact, have laws specifically protecting Bigfoot from hunting.
Yeah.
But yes,
and I actually think that in any law you should write Bigfoot again because that encompasses a range of species. So if there was ever a Yeti, either domesticated or otherwise, that somehow escaped in the wild, it would also be protected by said law.
Right, but yeah, because some son of a bitch is gonna like shoot a Yeti, which is out, and then claim that well, it's not. It's outside the Bigfoot law because it's not a Bigfoot, and
Yeah. Well, and
we need to just go ahead and set that precedent now.
And the other thing, and I've said this a few times, is that, and I know I'm bouncing between serious points and also serious points about the real cryptids that exist, but if you see an orangutan like in the wild, like it does look like a Sasquatch a little bit from a distance. So if you're near like a zoo or something and somehow one of those gets out, and that's also obviously something that's protected and needs to be. Let alone the fact that, for me personally, as somebody who does, kind of support the idea of great ape personhood being that, chimps, orangutans, bonobos, yes, Sasquatch, Yeti, Yowie, etc. should all have human rights. Even the Yowie, which I think can be a bit more aggressive. If I remember correctly.
more problematic, borderline case. Yeah,
but still, you know who else is problematic? You, me, and many other podcasters, and they don't just get to shoot us on site.
No, not yet. No, and the biggest thing, of course, as we discussed, our extensive background in hunting. Like, what's the like basic hunting safety tip or safety principle? You don't just blindly fire at like some like bipedal objects.
Yeah, you
Like,
don't
like,
assume it's a Sasquatch. It might just be a hairy guy.
Right. I mean, people have gotten shot by hunters who mistook the person for a deer, or like, how could you?
You do
so
not
now
need
imagine,
to
okay, you can hunt a Sasquatch,
American...
which looks like a person.
You do not need to become the American Oscar Pistorius.
Oh, wow. That's a timely reference.
I know. Well, that wasn't. Didn't he?
Famously known for shooting a Sasquatch?
I think. I'll remember the story that well.
No.
Oh, man.
No, that was awful. I shouldn't have said that.
Was it that awful?
No, it's fine.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. Underworld News Tonight at gmail.com. If it was okay, tell us it was okay. If it wasn't okay, yell at us. I just want to feel something.
Right. Yeah. And to reiterate, no Sasquatch hunting in Stevens County.
That is good to know. And I'm going to say no Sasquatch hunting nationwide. I'm laying down the law that it's illegal.
All right.
As the voice of my generation, the Zennials, I I think it's often put between me and Timothy
Mhm.
Chalamet as sort of like who's the voice of that
Right, who's
generation.
kind of, yeah, the tastemaker. Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I think right now it's clearly me. And I
Mhm.
think, maybe in a few years, I think Wonka bought Chalamet closer than he's ever been. But I think maybe in a few years it'll switch back off again. But for
I
me,
think
now
so.
I'm going to say to our Zennial audience, I know some of you guys hunt. I don't have a problem with that. I think that can be totally on fleek. But next time you want to
Sure.
grab your rifle and take a Zin, uh, if you see a Sasquatch, leave it alone
Right.
because it might be Jason Strong.
Yeah. Hard to say.
Yeah. Anyway, we need to speak about something that
Mm.
is pretty important.
Mhm.
And it's something that we've talked about before. Now, this story is coming from Bro Bible, not to be confused with Boy Bible, a series of documentary films in which I learned how to suck out the venom from a snake bite. Um, Multiple UFO sightings over New York State leave witnesses stumped. This is by
Hmm.
Douglas Charles. I always trust a man whose name is two first names.
Mhm.
Uh, a
Right. That
passenger on a
yeah.
commercial,
Oh,
yeah,
good.
a passenger on a commercial flight from Florida to New
Mhm.
York City, the Big
Mhm.
Apple, captured
Mhm.
a mysterious metallic-looking UFO through the window of a plane. We're gonna post some pictures on our Instagram this
Mhm.
week.
Mm.
Watch it fly by over the top of the clip for the first few seconds. Video was taken from a friend flying back from Florida, NYC. By far the clearest video I have ever seen. The person who shared the footage on Reddit wrote, of course, you can trust most of what you see on Reddit, especially when it's picked up by
Sure.
Bro Bible or
Oh,
Boy Bible.
absolutely. Uh-huh.
Uh, when viewed at a normal speed, and this is what I saw as well, it's somewhat difficult to pick out. And by the way, this is plain window footage. This is a really common type of UFO footage. We've talked about this at least
Mhm.
behind the scenes a few times, and I think have we ever talked about any plain window footage on the air?
Mm, I don't
I
think
know we
so.
have
I think
talked
maybe
about those
military
stories behind the
pilots, but
scenes.
not like a
But that's radar
passenger
footage, which
jet.
I've always found a lot more compelling.
Okay. Mhm.
This is passenger jet footage.
Mhm.
I think a lot of the footage that we've seen before, it's like these pyramid shaped UFOs, and the thing about that is that could
Mhm.
easily be another plane from a different angle.
Mhm.
A lot of it can be very
Mhm.
Photoshop. Um,
Mhm.
the interesting thing about this is when you slow it down, it does look a lot like that classic flying saucer, like we saw in
Mhm.
Ukraine, like have been
Right.
seen in a number of these other sightings. And
Mhm.
this is something that we've sort of seen make a resurgence after last year's Tic
Mhm.
Tacs, pyramids, jellyfish, stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, so it sort of, taps into whether it's a fraud, unlikely, or real, the collective psychic phenomenon aspect of ufology
Mhm.
in the sense that
The
this shape is sort of being conjured back out, reasserting itself from the collective
right.
subconscious.
Right. And I do feel like recent there's been some recent like popular sci-fi movies that have gone back to kind of that classic saucer shape.
Wait,
So you
which
do see
sci-fi
like
movies
some
had a saucer
connection.
recently?
Well, that what the hell? No one will save you.
I didn't
That
see
had a
that.
very like classic and I think it was like a moderate hit.
Oh,
Um Nope, didn't
well, we're
Nope
the 12th
have?
most popular comedy podcast in Algeria. No, Nope was not a
Right.
classic saucer. Nope, I don't want to
Okay.
spoil Nope.
Okay. Then never mind. I guess I just made that up.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, there are there are quotes from a guy, attesting to its legitimacy, but these are the sort of quotes that we see before. I just think it's really interesting, number one,
Mhm.
to see this sort of classic saucer taking shape again. I know this is something we've been covering throughout the year.
Mhm. Right.
Um, and of course, over New York and seen by someone flying out of Florida.
Mhm.
Who could be untrustworthy there?
Right. Yes. Who do you imagine would be flying from Florida to to New
Probably someone who
York?
just visited their grandparents.
Yeah. Maybe. Yeah. I guess I had someone specific in mind, but
Oh, who?
yeah. Well,
Who
Trump,
did you
right?
have in mind? You said someone specific. Oh, Trump.
Yeah.
Trump. if Trump sees a UFO, he's just gonna think it's a cool bird.
You think so?
Yeah, I think he's gonna be like, "Whoa, fucked up bird."
No, I guess that's true. Like if he would have seen it, we would have known it was him that saw it. He wouldn't like submit it like anonymously or like the story wouldn't be a passenger on a jet
Yeah,
saw
do
a
you think
UFO.
Trump ever looks out of the window on his jet beyond when like he's getting a picture taken of him? I don't think he does. I think he watches like he's one of those people who's watching like
Yeah,
fucking like football games from 1992.
maybe, but I guess I mean, in fairness, right? If you flew a lot, like had a private jet, how often do you think you would look out the window? Like for me, flying's still sort of novel, So when I get to do it, like yeah, I'll like seeing the ground fall away
I'll
below,
look
and
in and out a couple of times. Not the whole time, but I'll look in and out. I'll watch something for a bit. I'll take a little nap. I fall asleep pretty easily on a plane, actually.
Mhm.
Depending on how much, depending on the circumstances of the flight. Um, so yeah, I would say a moderate amount. But I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a
Right.
knock on the guy to not look out. If you don't look out the window that often when you fly, or you look out the window a lot when you fly, that's
Mhm.
fine. I'm saying in his case,
Right.
that's probably reflective of of a broader sense of like
Of different, yeah,
like a broader indifference to the world around him.
to right. Right. Um yeah. Um no, that is cool. That sort of classic shape resurgence. Yeah, interesting to see. So but this is kind of concurrent with sightings of, you said, like the Tic Tac
So the Tic
UFO shape,
Tac was what
right?
we got a lot of. So the Tic Tac became fairly prominent and still is, but I think the Tic Tac is most notable, and we're going to talk more about the Tic Tac later today after the break. But the Tic Tac became most notable during the hearings in 2023.
Right.
That was the footage that was circulated by a number of
Hmm.
incredible Air Force pilots, and that was also radar, or I think it was not radar footage, but it was some sort of I don't know what the technical term is, but like that green and white
Yeah.
footage.
Yeah.
It's
I
not
think
radar.
I don't remember.
Infrared, not infrared. Thermal,
Maybe
like something like.
yeah.
It was heat.
Yeah, I don't
Whatever.
remember.
I don't know this shit. Um, but the point being
Yeah.
that it was a bit less like it. You got bit less of a less clear picture, even though it was probably more reliable, just as far as who was
Hmm.
sending it in and why.
Right. Yeah. No, it's just interesting, I guess, all the different shapes and styles at the same
Yeah, and I
time.
know we also had and we talked about this when Scott Curtis, formerly of Pot Around and Find Out, now of Open Mic Diaries, was on the show. The jellyfish shape that we saw
Hmm.
out of that base in Iraq.
Hmm.
Of course, these could also represent different civilizations, different vehicles
Hmm.
of the same civilization.
Hmm.
If you're an alien and you saw a fucking VW buggy and you
Hmm.
saw a Ford F-150, would you be like these were
Yeah.
made by different species? Would you be like this is like
Hmm.
manifesting differently? Would you be like this is a collective psychic phenomenon that's manifesting differently, or would you be like this is these are two different cars of the same species?
I guess an idea, a theory I have uh, about this is that we're seeing kind of the like natural progression that happens, like when a civilization discovers a new place, right?
Right.
And at first it's like really difficult to get to, right? So it's these sort of military esque like vehicles, techniques to get them there,
Yeah,
and then
and
as
so that's the flying saucers, the first
right
wave of
from
flying
the
saucers, right?
yeah, like because we originally just back in the um uh heyday of when this started to be recorded, like yeah, they were the flying saucers, right?
Yeah.
So they would represent the initial contact. So they're still coming here, but now as whoever's coming has a better understanding of
Now we're
Earth,
getting the rich
n-
assholes.
right now we're getting sort of tourist adjacent,
Yeah, and
Like,
soon
you know
soon we're
what I
gonna
mean?
see the like a service economy get set up.
Right, right,
It'll be a
right.
whole thing. It'll be really fascinating to see.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I know I'll never see a UFO. I want it too bad. The other possibility, Jason, what I thought you were
Mm.
gonna say, could somehow be the fairies.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. It could be.
That also kind of gets into the collective psychic phenomena theory as well.
Uh-huh.
What
Right.
people are seeing is reflective of there's just something
Of what
going on. They
they're
don't know what it is. They might see a
Mhm.
ghost. They might see a fairy. They might see a UFO. And
Right.
then sort of as it becomes psychically imprinted, it becomes imprinted onto quote unquote reality, video, stuff like
Mhm.
that.
Right. Right.
Um, so that's
Mhm.
also a possibility. And right now, just culturally, we're ready to see the classic saucer again.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
but who's to
No,
say?
that's yeah, could be.
Besides us.
I know. We will we will ceaselessly probe this mystery.
Yeah, man. And the other thing is, you don't hear about people getting anally probed by these aliens anymore, and that's good.
Yeah.
They figured out what our butts look like.
We don't really hear a lot about kidnapping in general anymore, right?
Maybe they just successfully figured out how to take us out. Well, we hear about kidnapping all the time. You mean
Well, I
alien
mean, a
abductions?
UFO, yes, thank
Sometimes
you.
you still hear about alien
Yes,
abductions every
alien
few years,
abductions,
but
yeah,
yes,
yeah, okay.
kidnapping happens a lot, and people should be very aware of it. There's
Well,
this film I
sure,
saw
yeah.
actually. It's called
Yes.
Sound of Freedom. Anyway, guys,
Alright.
we are going to take a quick break because I have to pee, and then we're going to be right back with two more stories.
I don't know that I've been at a bar that had that in a long time. Like, I know exactly what you're talking
They're
about, but
making a
I don't
comeback.
remember. Are
I'm going to
they?
become the
That's
face of
cool.
pickled eggs.
Yeah, the pickled egg industry.
They're going to call on me. I'm going to make them cool with millennials again.
Mhm. Shit, maybe they'll sponsor the podcast. That seems like a good
I ho-
fit.
I hope they do.
Us and pickled
if you
eggs.
Yeah, please hit us up. Speaking of which, us, the faces of pickled eggs, are
Mhm,
back with Underworld News Tonight. And Jason,
mhm,
I have got another story. We've talked about this. What's
mhm.
even more concerning than UFOs?
Hoo boy. Um, I don't know. I guess the expiration date on the jalapeno pickled eggs.
Once you pickle an egg, it doesn't really expire because it's pickled. So a
You
pickled
think
item
so?
doesn't expire. I'm pretty sure.
I,
I
I,
think this bar goes
I
through
think
them
it's
pretty quickly because they're
okay.
delicious. But I don't think the pickled egg. I think once you pickle anything pickled is not going to really expire unless you open it
Okay.
because it's jarred.
Okay.
It's like
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right.
canned
I
chili.
guess
It has
if yeah,
canned beef doesn't expire, neither does a pickled egg.
I stand corrected. Then in that case, the only thing more concerning than UFOs are USOs
That's
coming out
correct.
of the
USOs.
ocean.
USOs. Not if we make it in comedy. The tour that we're going to be doing in 40 years.
Right.
No,
Hmm.
we're talking about unidentified submersible objects coming out of the ocean. What could that be, Jason? That could be something interdimensional, just like a
Hmm.
UFO. That could be an
Right.
advanced civilization that's involved underwater that we don't even know about.
Hmm.
Of course, we have not explored a large portion of the oceans, like 98% or something like that. So we don't
Right.
know what the
Hmm.
fuck is going on down there. Or it could be
Right.
aliens that crash landed into the oceans and have set up their own little civilizations down there. And now we're
Yeah.
coming back
Could
up.
be
If
anything.
it's the
Right.
latter two, they're going to be
Hmm.
upset about us for the climate
Hmm.
change stuff, which is
Right.
bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
This
That's
is a
pretty
story
bad.
from the telegraph.co.uk by Sarah
Mm.
Knapton. The
Okay.
science editor, former US Navy Admiral, leads search for underwater alien USOs. Hunt for
Mm.
clues to extraterrestrial life forms visiting Earth moves from skies to the seas.
Hmm.
Unidentified flying objects have caused so much concern in recent years that even NASA launched a lengthy
Hmm.
probe to find out what they were. Now, Some experts believe the hunt should move from the skies to the seas. The former
Mhm.
head of the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or
Mhm.
NOAA, is launching a
Mhm.
probe into unidentified
Mhm.
submersible objects,
I think
USOs,
that's how
and
that's
in
pronounced,
particular,
yeah.
it is,
Mm.
yeah,
That's
and
how
in
it's pronounced, yeah.
particular, a strange anomaly seen on
Mhm.
the seabed off the coast of California. Timothy
Mm.
Gallaudet, former Rear Admiral in the
Mhm.
US Navy. You have to make
Hmm.
sure that those rears are tight in the Navy. And
Mhm.
that's how you do it.
Right. Hmm. Yep, I wonder what the hell that I'm sure that this is my naval ignorance. I don't know what the hell, like, where does a rear admiral fall in, like, the hierarchy? And, like, what is that a reference to even?
I am pretty
I
sure
have
what the Rear
0
Admiral
idea.
does is, like I said, he's got to get onto the boat and he has
Uh-huh.
to inspect the bottoms of all of those boat boys. And he has to
Mhm.
make sure I saw this in Boy Bible, by the way. He has to
Oh,
make sure that
okay.
their rears are
Hmm.
in tight fighting condition. They have strong enough glutes. And he
Okay.
shows them some massaging techniques to help them after the rigorous exercise that they have to do, particularly in the short shorts that they have that strain them.
I
Uh,
th I think I'm gonna stop you there. Um, I uh, good bit, if that's true, that somewhat undermines his credibility as as an expert on
what are you
someone to be
talking about? He is doing
leading the
this for our
hunt for
country. For
USOs.
our country. He is serving his country. What have you done for your fucking country, Jason? What have you
No,
done for
that's
your goddamn country that you're going to talk shit about a rear
about
admiral?
right, just right. Disparage, disparage our nation's great rear admirals.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Gallaudet.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
understand that tight glutes are what separates our Navy from the
Right,
goddamn
from
Ecuadorians.
man.
All right, Timothy Gallaudet, a
Anyway,
former Rear
yes, he's
Admiral
yeah,
of the U.S.
form
Navy,
yes, right.
has spent the past 18 months interviewing dozens of sailors, submariners, submariners being people who work on submarines, not the Marvel character.
Not
Disney,
the
don't sue
okay,
us.
I was
Military
confused.
personnel
Like,
and members of the U.S. Coast Guard, all of whom this says all who, this should say all of whom,
mm,
say they have
well,
seen unidentified craft in the water. One incident
hmm,
was filmed by the USS Omaha, of course, named after Keanu
mhm,
Reeves' character Johnny Omaha in the
Johnny,
1993 documentary Point Break,
uh,
off the coast
it
of.
was and it was Utah.
It was Johnny Utah.
His name was Johnny Utah. Johnny Omaha is a pretty good name though, but,
That's a good name.
that's
His name
not
was
the na
Johnny
that's yeah,
Utah.
it was Johnny Utah.
Man,
Yeah, and he was
people
a,
say Keanu Reeves isn't a good actor back then. I mean, now they know he's a good actor, but back then they said, but like he pulled
mhm.
off making a guy named Utah cool.
Well, and he plays a guy, who was a football player at Ohio State.
Oh
So,
man.
yeah, and he really sold all of that.
We can't even get into Point Break right now, unfortunately. We need to
No,
talk
yeah,
about something more
yes,
pressing,
yeah,
USOs. One incident was
USOs, right.
filmed by the USS Omaha off the coast of San
Uh-huh,
Diego in Southern California in 2019, when a dark-shaped object was seen moving quickly before splashing down into the water. This
hmm,
is similar to the renowned Tic Tac incident in 2004, which we talked about. Of
mhm,
course, that footage having been released this past year.
mhm,
U.S. Navy pilots described, and we later saw the footage of an oblong craft shaped like the sweet, shaped like the sweet, meaning like a Tic Tac. Sorry, it's like the sweet
okay.
hovering. What? No, it was shaped like the sweet, like a Tic
So
Tac. I forget that British people call can't everything
right,
sweets. So
sweet,
it's
right.
shaped like a Tic Tac. I
No,
wouldn't call a
that's
Tic Tac a
yeah,
sweet. That's fucking insane. Sorry.
no,
Shaped
right.
like a Tic Tac, hovering just above the water off the California coast. Sonar has revealed an unusual trench on the seafloor, as if an object had crashed into a ridge and then skidded to a
Hmm,
hull.
hmm,
Mr. Gallaudet is planning to send a remote-controlled submarine to the spot to see if there are signs of what caused the phenomena. There are, of course, aliens. Sorry,
mhm,
that's my interjection, not Miss Napton's, I should say. Uh,
understood,
I
thank
cannot
you.
explain this feature and therefore want to use a ROV, remotely operated underwater vehicle. So he spells it
Hmm,
ROV, but it should be called a RAV. to dive
Right.
from a ship and capture video of it. He told the Telegraph. That may allow us to identify its detailed characteristics and potentially determine what caused it. No one has agreed to provide a ship or ROV yet. A hypothesis is that it may have been formed by an interaction of a UAP or USO with the seabed. Mr. Gallaudet believes that evidence for USOs may be present in the US Navy's acoustic data, meaning sound data, I think.
Sure.
But I might just be making that up.
Their Unplugged album.
their sick ass cover of Tangled Up in Blue.
Right.
But it is currently classified. I have not seen signatures on such data, but I have spoken to one former submarine officer who has. This week, Mr. Gallaudet launched a report into the phenomenon alongside the Sol Foundation, SOL, a group of academics, military, and government officials committed to researching UFOs. The group is calling for investigations into USOs to be made a national ocean research priority for the U.S. government and argue that the underwater anomalies threaten maritime security.
Oh, man.
I don't know if you remember the War of 1812. Did you remember that either from experience or from learning about it in school?
Both.
Okay, great. So in the War of 1812, of course, any veterans of the War of 1812, thank you for your service, by the way. What started the war was what? Do you remember?
Wasn't
pop quiz, motherfucker?
Was it like I want to say like a pig farm or like? Wasn't it something?
It was just nothing to do with a pig farm. Do you even give a shit about this country? First, you insult our nation's rear admirals.
The rear admirals.
Now
you're right.
You have the audacity to suggest the War of 1812 was about a pig farm. No, Britain was impressing, meaning taking aboard their ships our seamen,
right?
Our not just our navy, but our merchant marines, our trade vessels, shit like that. What if aliens start?
That was gonna be my second guess.
Either underwater aliens, Atlanteans, or aliens. I'm just using the term Atlantean to mean like intelligent underwater, if not literal Atlantis.
Right.
We could have the War of 1812 too.
Man, wouldn't that be exciting? No, that's a good point. This was
Grab
in
your muskets,
California,
folks. This was in California, but presumably it's happening. Well, no, I don't think it is happening off the East Coast. You know why?
Why?
They might have interdimensional technology. They might have Tic Tacs. But these motherfuckers couldn't handle Jersey.
Nope. No.
It produces tough as nails guys like me.
Right. They couldn't make it. Had to move back to Iowa.
Yeah, anyway, let's get back to the story. But sorry, you had another question before we continue.
Well, I was going to ask, do you know where this is in relation to, because we had talked about an underwater structure, right, off the coast of L.A., or like maybe even like Venice Beach specifically?
So this is off the coast of Southern California, so it's presumably relatively close, but I do not have the specific location.
Exactly. That's fine. Okay, I was just curious. Yeah.
But it's near where the original Tic Tac sighting occurred. So these things could be connected.
Got it.
Sure. They could also not be. Who's to say? This week, Mr. Gallaudet launched a report into the phenomenon alongside the Sol Foundation, SOL, a group of academics, military, and government officials committed to researching UFOs. This group is calling for investigations into USOs to be made a national ocean research priority for the U.S. government and argue that the underwater anomalies threaten maritime security. The report details an incident in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico, where thermal imaging systems on a U.S. Customs and Border Protection aircraft picked up a fast-moving craft which entered the Atlantic Ocean. By the way, did you see me with Aguadilla take a brief pause, almost read it and pronounce it like I would something Italian, and then say, no, that's Puerto Rico, that would be racist?
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. I did, yes, I saw that.
Speaking at a recent Sol Foundation symposium, Mr. Gallaudet said, just in the year and a half or so now that I've become active and started interviewing people, I have met dozens of people, commercial, military, Coast Guard, mariners, and submariners who have had observations. I don't have any data yet. That's the next step. but this is several dozen people that have seen phenomena in our oceans: the tropical eastern and western Pacific, the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean, Mediterranean, and the Indian Ocean, and the North
Mm,
Atlantic and eastern seaboard. So they have, in fact, come to Jersey. So this
sure.
is happening, and I am trying to
Hmm.
get a better understanding of it. Last year, the U.S. Congress instructed the
Hmm.
Department of Defense to investigate UFOs and established a new office called the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or ARROW, which, of course, we've talked about on the show before.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, and then so I'm gonna go a bit more into what the story has to say about the
Hmm.
broader issue.
Yeah.
Uh, of course, a report by the U.S. Office of the Director of National Intelligence also uncovered 274 observations of UFOs by military
Mm,
personnel between August 2022 and April 2023. Mr. Gallaudet said that when he
mm,
was working as chief meteorologist for the U.S. Navy in 2015, he received a
sure.
classified email entitled Urgent Safety of Flight Issue with the famous Go Fast video attached, which showed Hornet
Mm,
pilots narrowly avoiding
hmm.
mid-air collisions with UFOs. He responded, "Sorry,
Hmm.
buddy, I'm chief meteorologist. Email me when it's raining."
Hmm.
But he
Hmm.
claims after the initial email, the Navy refused to talk about it, leaving pilots forced to come up with evasive maneuvers on their own without guidance. Gary Nolan,
Hmm.
Gary with two R's, which means you can trust him twice as much, professor in the
Right.
Department of Pathology at Stanford University School of Medicine,
Mm,
who helped
hmm.
found the Soul Foundation, said it was time to take the threat seriously. He told me I was overqualified to work there, by the way. Um,
Mm,
so
hmm.
he said yeah, that's why I started the
Sure.
pod.
Yeah.
Uh,
Right.
he
Hmm.
said, as represented by multiple credible military personnel, objects have been recorded by sonar moving at speeds underwater that are far beyond our best submarines or other hardware. Similarly, objects close to the surface have been observed by pilots in multiple flyovers. Objects have been observed
Hmm.
rising from the ocean as seen from the decks of military or commercial ships. You could see this shit on your next Carnival cruise, Jason.
Man. No, that's yeah, that's a frightening thought.
Yeah.
Never been on a Carnival cruise. Um,
Yeah, I forgot you're a Grand
so
Norwegian guy.
I'd say I'd be puzzled as to why I was there. That not to be dismissive. Well, to be let's call a spade. To be dismissive, you said this
Of
guy.
a rear
He's
admiral.
a no, not the pathologist, right?
That's
The
the
from the what
professor
Stanford
who
School of
just
Medicine.
contributed. One of the
Yeah,
founders of the Soul Foundation. Yes,
right. So what does that have to do with
he
searching
had the
for
money
like
to found the Soul
USOs?
Foundation, and then he
Okay.
got the people who know more about it involved. But also, what if
Okay, fair
if there is
enough.
a dead
Yeah.
alien, there's germs. He has to deal with that. He'll have to deal with alien
Oh, that yeah.
diseases.
No,
He'll
you're
have to deal
right.
with
I
what
didn't
if their
think of
dicks
that.
are bigger? Should we take dick enlargement pills to get dicks that are bigger than the aliens? Start a sort of Cold War that way.
Doesn't sound like a pathology thing, but maybe.
I read
No,
about
no.
this in
Yeah.
Boy Bible
Good boy.
4, Boy
Right.
to the Stars, the Space Force edition.
All right. Yeah, and I don't want to like silo anyone, just because he is a pathologist doesn't mean he doesn't have something to contribute. I just thought it was interesting that he helped found it when that's not what his
Yeah, like, are
background
you
is.
saying we
It's
can't
not like he
trust a
was a
fucking
rear admiral.
pathologist? Are you saying
Right.
we can't trust a pathologist? Because I have therapy. I did therapy an hour before we recorded this show, and
Uh-huh.
she said I have a lot of different pathologies going on.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, and I certainly
Yeah,
trust you. I would trust you to handle the global underwater search for alien intelligence.
I think the key is honestly,
Hmm.
maybe this is a hot take.
Hmm.
Just put like a big sippy cup lid on it, right?
Okay.
And then when they're ready to talk, they can talk. We'll put a little phone at the bottom. We'll put a little phone at the top. And then we'll be like, hey, we want to get back into fish. We want to know what the deal is. Let's do a little
Hmm.
chit chat.
Yeah. Okay. No, that sounds like
Here's the
a
thing. We also haven't
certainly
considered
sounds
what
like a
if,
workable solution.
but here's the other thing. We haven't considered
Mhm.
what if actual fish that we know about are actually much smarter. That's another possibility that we haven't thought about.
No, that's true.
What
Yeah.
if
Like dolphins are like super intelligent.
dolphins are super intelligent and that's just what we know?
And
What about
right.
and dolphins are not nice. Dolphins are not
Well,
nice. Don't
octopus? Octopus are real smart.
Octopi, yeah. Actually, I think the plural is not
Is it octopuses?
octopi.
I don't.
Yeah, octopuses, octopi,
Whatever.
whatever. They're very smart. Did you ever see that documentary, My Octopus Teacher? It fucking sucks, but it
I think
it does
yeah.
show
I
you that
think I did.
octopuses are smart. But the movie sucks.
Yeah.
Don't watch it. It's not nearly as good as this podcast. It's just some asshole being like, I
No.
saw this octopus, we became friends, and it died, and it made me realize I should give a shit about my kids.
No, I did see that. Yes. I remember.
That's a good. I'm not even joking that much. Like, I do think that's like a
No,
summary of
you're
the
not.
movie.
Yeah. You're not.
Won an
Right.
Oscar. Could be octopuses. Could even be, the smartest fish is going to hide his intelligence the most. Could be a fucking crawfish.
Yeah. I never did trust those fuckers.
They could be making us into what do people eat crawfish for? Gumbo? Po'
I think
boys?
so.
No, you
Yeah.
wouldn't put crawfish in a po' boy.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't put a
Oh,
shelled
yeah,
fish in a
I think you
sandwich,
could.
right? We wouldn't put a fish with a shell in a sandwich. You wouldn't eat a shrimp sandwich,
get
right?
it.
Because it's got a shell.
Yeah.
Well, you'd have to
you
peel
can get a
it
shrimp po'
first.
boy. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess you could get a lobster roll.
Right.
I don't
All
know.
of these are possible.
All of these are
yeah,
exactly why we need to be worried about the USOs, because this is
Yes.
what we stand to lose if we have to sign a treaty with these
Right.
fuckers. We need to get aggressive, I think.
Okay. Yeah. What do you have anything in mind?
Tell them
I
that
mean,
if
besides, yeah.
if they tell them that they can demand whatever they want, but if they take
Mhm.
a single fucking fish and chip from me,
Yeah.
it's war. We would
Yeah.
be fine to destroy these oceans without you.
Yeah. No, that's wow. Yeah. That's wild. Yeah, that is super cool to think about though. Like, yeah, there could be anything down there. Like, we have no idea.
Kraken.
Yeah.
Nessie.
Kraken, sure.
Well, Kraken actually is one that, that was a cryptid, and then it turns out the giant squid does exist.
Like it was
it's not
real.
very well
Yeah.
documented. Yeah.
Right.
Not very common. You're not going to see them a lot, and I don't think they really attack people, right?
No.
I don't think they don't dramatically grab ships
outside
or anything.
of,
I don't think.
I'd say outside of like Jules Verne novels. No, I don't think they.
Yeah, or like the
I don't think
Odyssey
they
or whatever.
known for attacking vessels.
Yeah. There's actually a really good documentary about Krakens. It's in the Japanese version of Boy Bible.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. They're also very intelligent.
Yeah. That sounds like a fascinating documentary.
Gotta tell you, I would not. I hope they are not piloting the USOs. Luckily, they're too small, I think.
Yeah. What, the USOs?
The USOs for the Krakens. Although again, I saw the documentary.
Right, you can't cram a Kraken in one.
Yeah, although I did see the documentary, and they can get into some tight places. I will tell you that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I also feel like a giant Kraken probably don't really need to pose like a credible threat. Don't really need to do much else than like they're already giant.
No, I mean today they would like we can kill whatever.
They
like
could.
Modern military technology can take out a big animal, right? Like like effectively, like if a giant actually existed today and it didn't have a gun, like a big fucking, even if it just had a normal gun, like if it didn't have something crazy.
Right. I guess I was postulating that we would be facing much more than one at a time, right? Like,
right.
if
but
they decided that an invasion,
how powerful, like just setting up like basic like military artillery that we've had since like World War I would be effective against a Kraken invasion unless they're piloting the USOs. I don't think it's the Kraken. I don't think that they're. Right. I think they're Kraken. Aren't Krakens kind of stupid? Like they're like octopi are much smarter than Krakens. I'm making this shit up. Like it's ethical.
I think so.
I don't eat Galamad.
Right? They're different.
Yeah. I don't eat Galamad, but it is ethical to eat Galamad in a way that it's not to eat octopus. As far as I don't know if we need to get into that conversation.
Yeah, probably not
right now.
But, yeah.
But eat all the Galamad you want. That's what I say.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's also tempting. I noticed, like, as we've been, and not just these, the UFOs, UAPs, USO sightings,
Mhm.
how we're sort of lumping them all in one, in one category. And then we had a story not too long ago about dude who claimed that Bigfoot was the result of UFOs slash or aliens coming down and mating.
Demons and
Anyway,
angels and all
it's
that. Yeah.
right. It's tempting to like collapse all of this into like one theory that explains right all these different phenomenon that we're seeing. So
Mhm.
so like we're putting together the UFOs and the USOs, the underwater, when I don't know, they could be different, it could be the same.
Well, yeah, they could absolutely be
I don't know.
different. Well, and even obviously both UFOs and USOs. It could be these are a bunch of different species that do quick tourism. This could be these are different types of recording equipment that are
Right.
being set up for whatever fucking trashy reality show we're a part of. Like there are a ton of different
Right.
possibilities of just like what could be going on in any of these cases.
Right.
Um, so I don't think that's
Or,
something to discount.
or oh
Um,
no. But what if the two are interacting, right? What if the UFOs are coming down not for us, but for the underwater species who are coming up with their USOs, and they're interacting,
mm,
and we're just sort of here in the background, like it has nothing whatsoever to do with
you think
us.
they're gonna fuck?
I mean, that's entirely likely. You don't think if
Maybe
we
I haven't
made
watched.
contact with either one of those, eventually someone's going to ask, "Hey, can we fuck?"
Someone will fuck. Yeah, no, no, for sure. Like, well, for sure. Uh, yeah, someone's gonna fuck them very quickly. I guess it's a question of on their end if they're gonna, be like us in that regard.
Right, right,
I don't know how horny they are comparatively. That's the question.
right. That's impossible to say.
Yeah, I mean, I have theories, but at the same time, I may have been watching too much Boy Bible.
Yeah, that'll really shape your thinking. No, those are both excellent. Yeah, um, yeah, just super interesting. Cool that UFOs kind of making a comeback. The USO thing, like the underwater, that's fairly new. Like that wasn't something I remember being discussed much. Like in the '80s around this kind of thing. But
Well, I think
yeah,
I mean I think the thing to keep in mind
pretty
is that
cool.
people aren't by the nature of that. It's not being seen as frequently. Of course, like radar, like
Sure,
sonar and stuff has
sure,
gotten a lot more sophisticated.
right.
Um, And I mean, a lot of that stuff, I think Navy stuff during the Cold War, especially being so hush hush, like, and really those being the only people who are going to see it. Whereas
Right,
a UFO,
right.
like, once a USO leaves the water, it becomes a
Hmm.
UFO to the average
UFO, right.
onlooker. And that's when it
Sure,
becomes viewable to the average civilian.
sure.
Could be the Loveland Frogman.
Yeah, who knows? Right, right. Could be a Washington Sasquatch trying to get away from a hunting season.
Oh, man. Well, there is no Sasquatch hunting season, folks. Don't do it. Like we said, don't hunt a
No,
Sasquatch.
yeah, not yet. I feel like Florida's probably looking into that.
Florida, yeah, I think Florida will allow it.
They'll be the first
Because they
legalized
want to,
Sasquatch hunting.
in general, I think they're just going to want to make it illegal for like guys to have long hair.
Right. Hmm.
So that'll be kind of like the guys
And
to
no
do it.
job. Yeah, loafing in the woods.
It's illegal. It's illegal to be unemployed. That's why we'll always be able to
Uh-huh.
say podcaster.
Right. Right. I'm not loitering, officer. I'm doing research for my podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you.
Loitering shouldn't be a
Yeah,
crime, by the
something to
way.
keep in
That
mind.
this is
No.
besides the point. But who are people to tell
No.
you not to stand in outside? Outside is for you.
Yeah.
That's a unless you're harassing, like you should be able to loiter wherever you want.
Hmm.
I think we need to stage a
I think
nationwide
so.
loiter in.
Sure. No, I'm all for it. Yeah. Um,
Go to your
yeah.
nearest fucking small
Okay.
business stands.
And just loiter. Right. Right.
We're here. We're not buying
Right.
anything.
I'm just thinking, my nearest small business is like a kitchen remodeler. So just hanging out in his office all day.
Hang out outside of the kitchen remodel. All right, to be honest, he's probably going through a divorce and he will come out and talk to you. You'll have a good time.
Yeah.
You'll learn some things. You'll bring some insights back to the show.
About
But
some
I
linoleum
imagine
and
that your local kitchen remodeler, I can't say with certainty, I'm not asserting this. I think that your local kitchen remodeler is going through a divorce, and this goes for anybody
and
listening.
maybe it's okay.
And the kitchen remodeler, always
Sure.
in the wrong. Always in the wrong, because
So.
they look at those counters all day and it gives them some ideas, and they
Yeah.
it's a lot of time out
Right.
of the house. They talk to
Well, if you spend any length of time with like a nice marble countertop, like you do kind of get some feelings that are surprising.
oh yeah. Usually I want to shove a fistful of shredded cheese into my mouth.
And you can cut it without a board.
Yeah,
You
while
just-
leaned against
just
this.
cut
I'm
it
gonna lean
directly on
against
the-
this like Rocky on the ropes while eating peanut butter directly from the jar.
Right. All right. Sorry. So your last couple stories hinted at maybe a distant possibility or threat of an invasion of the human species.
I don't think distant, motherfucker. They're here.
They're here. Well, if it helps put your mind at ease, there's an invasion coming much more quickly that you're going to have to contend with.
Okay.
This story is from the Associated Press, written by Seth Bornstein. Invaders from underground are coming in Cicada-geddon. It's the biggest bug emergence in centuries.
It's always the fucking... People are so dramatic about these fucking things. You know when the last time there was a bug invasion this big?
No.
1962, the Beatles play Shea Stadium in New York City, the greatest city in the world. So you could say it's just as much about the Mets.
So it's all
as the Brits.
So insect invasion wise, you're saying the United States, it's just been downhill since then. That
Since
was
Paul
sort of
McCartney,
the pinnacle insect invasion.
I blame Ringo.
Bold.
Because here's the thing. Maybe this is a hot take. And
Okay.
again, Mr. Starr, please don't sue us. John Lennon beat his wife, right? Ringo's not
Yeah.
dead. I would know.
No?
John
Okay.
Lennon beat his wife, and that was bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ringo said nothing. He just wanted to play him drums and write Octopus's Garden.
Right.
But he could have done the backmasking thing that everyone else did and had it, if you play it backwards, say John's beating his wife.
It hidden. Yeah. It's the cry for help. No, you're right.
I'm against
You've really turned me against Ringo Starr now.
Ringo, come on the podcast and defend yourself if you really think that this is not an accurate conception of what happened.
I'm going to have to burn all my Ringo Starr albums.
You can ignore how much I looked like Mark David Chapman in high school.
Trillions of evolution's bizarre wonders, red-eyed periodical cicadas that have pumps in their heads and jet-like muscles in their rears are about to emerge in numbers not seen
muscles in their rears. They must have a good rear admiral.
They do, exactly. Yeah. Numbers not seen in decades, possibly centuries.
All right. Possibly. That's... What the fuck are you talking about? Like, yeah, so it was... There's less of of everything that's not us, so probably not.
So what it is, okay. So are you familiar with cicadas? Like, you're from back east.
All about
this
the
is
cicadas.
something that
I know all about this shit.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anywhere from what the East Coast to the Mississippi, and maybe a little further, every year,
Yeah, they're
summertime, you
this
get
these
kind of a
loud ass
wave
underground
of
like they're these bugs
right.
they
They
come from
shriek and
underground, they're
they
loud.
right.
People they don't shriek that loud. Like you don't notice them until people complain about them, and then you kind of notice them.
Then you
They're
can't
a
ever
little
not hear it.
loud.
Right.
It's
Well,
fine. It's not any worse than a cricket.
well, for this upcoming invasion, there's two different cicada broods that do come out of hibernation. One comes out 13 years and one comes out every 17 years.
Yeah, that's the
They
one with the big
they
tits.
coincide. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I don't know.
If
Um,
for those of you on the West Coast, that's one of them. One of them has really big tits, like
oh, right.
and
Yeah,
it
yeah.
flies
Okay.
around, and they make a loud like smacking noise, and that's
Yeah.
the noise you got to deal with.
Got okay. Um, but this will be the first time in like over 200 years when both of these broods come out of hibernation at the same time. So what they're anticipating is upwards of 1 million cicadas per acre in an area that covers several million acres. So they're anticipating trillions, if not quadrillions, of cicadas being out and active all at one
Okay.
time this summer.
Well, you know what? Biggest audience we've ever had.
Yeah, that would be true.
Because here's the thing: if
Um,
you guys think the sound of
mm,
cicadas is annoying, I know I just said it's not that bad. Get yourself some Bluetooth headphones and catch up on the backlog of Underworld News Tonight.
yeah. No, if nothing else, it is good for drowning out the sound of cicadas.
That's true, because we do not shut the fuck up.
um, yeah, the cicadas are generally harmless, um, even to plants.
Unless they have a
Smaller
gun.
plants maybe, but well, right. Unless they can get a hold of a chainsaw, you're probably okay. They are
That
loud.
would
They
be
can
so
be
cute, though. A
gross
bunch of
looking,
bugs with
and
tiny
I know
chainsaws.
you're right.
Because they'd have to make a tiny chainsaw, and they would be on a little string, yeah. Oh my god.
The dun 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 dun. um, yeah. So other than the noise, like and just generally being a little gross. I during my lifetime, I mean, obviously this one hasn't happened in 200 years, but cicadas out east, like I said, from the East Coast about the Mississippi is a yearly thing. Some years much more than others, but I definitely
Yeah.
remember like being out for one like major event and then being like you couldn't take a step outside without stepping on 4 or 5 of them. Like it being almost like freaky
Yeah.
or like creepy the amount of them that were out there, but
Almost all of my actually all my hobbies are inside.
mhm,
I exercise, but I exercise inside. I'm a very
right.
pale guy. That's why I use the
Mhm.
purple light in the videos. It kind of undercuts that bit. Uh,
Yeah.
I exercise inside. I record this podcast inside. I do comedy
Mhm.
inside. So I don't need to worry about this shit. It's not my fucking problem.
Yeah, we'll have to see if in the next couple months we can pick it up when you're recording. Because you're
Maybe.
like you're in the Midwest, you're like right in the crosshairs. I don't have to worry about it. I'm in the Rocky Mountains, like we don't have them here. And to be honest, I kind of miss it.
Yeah,
Said
I've
it's
never
just
really
like so
noticed it.
weird and creepy that
I've never really noticed it. So, like I'm sure maybe you'll be able to pick it up. I don't know, like, did you hear my I mean, I guess I'll hear our audience will hear, but like my dog was barking earlier in the show. Did you hear any of
Mhm.
that?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, you'll probably
Hmm.
my dog's louder than a cicada, but if you get that many of them,
Right. It'll be
eh,
like sustained. Yeah.
yeah, we'll see. I guess it'll probably be filtered out easier by the thing. This is more
Hmm.
interesting audio engineering tidbits with
Right. From
Andrew and
the yeah
Jason.
behind the scenes.
Um, Man,
So you haven't been through like a big
no, I mean, I
cicada,
think I've been through them. I just never been like a
just
big
never
like I've
thought.
definitely been through them. Yeah, I've never thought twice about it. I've never been like I can't tolerate this noise. As far as bugs go, they don't really bite. Like, they're not like
No, they don't.
yeah, it's not like a bunch of mosquitoes and shit, right? So it's not like
No.
I don't
No.
I
So
think I'm not
they're
outdoorsy
harmless.
enough to really worry about
Mhm,
it. Like I think if I was someone who went camping or whatever, I'd be like, oh,
mhm,
this sucks. But like, I'm
mhm.
not somebody who does that sort of a thing. My hobbies are all indoors. So,
Right.
for me it's kind of like, oh, there's
Mhm.
cicadas, whatever.
No,
Um
said in growing up in like southwestern Ohio, and maybe like because it is different, amounts and different times. So maybe like we just got them worse. But I remember it being kind of like a cultural event, like in Cincinnati, that there would be festival.
yeah.
Like there would definitely be mention of it in festivals and parties, and like the local pizza chain. You could order a pizza with cicadas on it.
Oh my god.
So
Well,
so we'll see what maybe some culinary innovation coming out of coming out of this next cicada cycle.
maybe. I have always preferred anchovies, so
Mm,
but
anchovies
we'll
are
see
good.
what happens. Yeah, anchovies are
Yeah.
underrated. People but you
Mm,
know what? This is not pizza
not
show. We have reached the end
no.
of our
Mhm.
topics today. I know that these last
Yep.
few episodes have been a bit shorter than what we normally do. Combination of time constraints and a few other
Have
things,
they?
but you guys,
Mm.
a little bit. I mean, we're just under an hour of recording now, at least according to my thing.
Oh, okay.
Um, so usually we've been, maybe it's because our last few episodes before that have been a bit longer. Either way, you guys don't need to worry about that because
Hmm.
we're gonna, length of a podcast varies. This isn't TV.
Right.
We play it
Hmm.
fast and loose. But
Hmm.
you guys could always catch up with more of us on social
Yeah.
media: Instagram, Facebook,
Hmm.
TikTok, YouTube, Underworld News
Hmm.
Tonight. You could remember it because it's the name of this show.
Name of the podcast. Yeah,
Uh,
it's easy. Hmm.
Name of the podcast you're listening to right now.
Hmm.
So if
Yeah.
you're already listening to this show, you just need to look at the name of the
Just
show or remember the name of the show that we said
right.
and then look it up.
Hmm. More
You
than
can also
halfway there
find
already.
me on your social media platforms of choice if the social media platforms that you're choosing are Instagram,
Hmm.
TikTok, and YouTube. At
Hmm.
Andrew Michaels Comedy, all one word. That'll just say Andrew Michaels. That's me.
Hmm.
I post my little jokes. Sometimes they're from stand up. Sometimes they're from me just hanging out. Come on, comment on the videos. Share them around, stuff like that. I definitely appreciate that. Jason, you've got some social media, right?
Yeah, Jason V Strong on Instagram. That's that's the only one I use anymore.
That is the only place you can find
Only
him.
one
You
I
can
use.
find
Right.
pictures of
Hmm.
elves and shit.
Hmm.
You can find
Hmm.
his spicy political takes, a bit too controversial for the podcast. I've had to
Right.
veto them a
Right.
number of times
Uh-huh.
and issue an apology to the
Right.
Belgian community.
Well,
Um,
right. And that's why the podcast lately, what listeners hear might be a little shorter.
well, yeah,
We've
no, we,
recorded
we,
for
we've
four
been recording
hours,
for
and he's gonna have
11
to throw
hours.
all of that shit away because
Yeah, it was.
yeah,
He went off. He went off. Like I have
I will
never.
I just will not
I
stop talking about Michigan.
I didn't know wafflehead could be a slur.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. No.
but anyway, I'm not even worried about the amount of time that I have spent and will continue needing to spend editing Jason's racial tirades against the Belgian
Hmm.
community out of this show.
Yep. Right.
Because I don't worry that much about my time. Because at the end of the day,
Hmm.
it's all phantom time. But right now,